Most people begin walking expecting weight loss, but the body starts shifting long before the scale moves. Walking triggers a cascade of metabolic signals in the very first minutes, as if your cells suddenly recognize an incoming opportunity to rebalance energy. Scientists often describe this moment as a quiet activation, a physiological whisper that sets the stage for deeper changes. You'll see why this matters soon, because this tiny shift can determine how your body handles insulin for the rest of the day. What's fascinating is that these early changes happen without any visual transformation. No sweat dripping, no heavy breathing, no dramatic calorie burn, yet the internal rewiring is already underway. The body is far more responsive than we assume. It reacts instantly to movement because it's evolutionarily trained to survive through motion. Even gentle walking taps into ancient metabolic programs designed to regulate blood sugar swiftly. This subtle reaction explains why some people feel unexpectedly better after a simple stroll, lighter, clearer, more stable, even though their weight hasn't changed. You'll understand this deeper as we go, but let's plant the seed. Walking communicates with your hormones long before it ever communicates with your fat cells, and insulin is one of the first to respond. Before we go deeper, think about this. How often do you underestimate small habits because they seem too simple? Comment below if you've ever dismissed walking as not enough. Your experience might surprise someone watching too. Within the first 5 minutes of walking, your muscles begin demanding glucose at a surprisingly rapid pace. It's as if they knock on insulin's door saying, "We'll handle this now." This early glucose uptake happens through a pathway that doesn't require insulin at all, a biological loophole that scientists call contraction-mediated glucose transport. It means your muscles can pull sugar from your bloodstream even before insulin gets involved. At this moment, insulin levels begin to fall naturally because the body recognizes that muscles are doing the job insulin usually does. This is one of the earliest metabolic benefits of walking, and it occurs long before fat oxidation becomes significant. Think of insulin stepping aside, allowing your muscles to take the lead. It's a quiet but powerful shift. Even more interesting, this mechanism stays active for hours after the walk ends. Your muscles remain more responsive, almost as if they stay open to glucose. That means your next meal can be handled more gracefully, with lower peaks and fewer spikes. This is why walking consistently reshapes metabolic health even before any physical changes are visible. If you've ever felt unusually steady after a meal followed by a walk, that sensation wasn't psychological, it was physiology in action. And soon we'll explore how your muscles become central characters in this metabolic story. Before we move on, tell me something in the comments. Have you ever felt a noticeable change in your body or mood after just a simple walk? Your experience might help someone who's watching this right now. When you start walking, your muscles awaken thousands of molecular switches. One of the most important is AMPK, an energy sensor often described as the body's cellular fuel gauge. As muscles contract, AMPK is activated, opening the door for more glucose to enter the cells without needing extra insulin. This process is gentle, efficient, and incredibly protective against blood sugar irregularities. At the same time, walking enhances blood flow to working muscles, delivering oxygen and nutrients far more smoothly. This improved circulation isn't just about physical performance, it changes the biochemical environment inside the muscle fibers. More oxygen means more efficient glucose use, and that, in turn, reduces the demand for insulin even further. It's a reinforcing cycle. This process is why walking is particularly powerful for people with insulin resistance. Their cells struggle to hear insulin's message, but movement bypasses the entire communication problem. Muscles don't need insulin's permission when they are contracting. They simply pull in glucose. It's like giving insulin a translator. And here's a curiosity that few people know. The more frequently your muscles perform this glucose by contraction trick, the more capable they become at doing it again. Walking doesn't just fix the moment, it teaches your muscles to respond differently in the future. One of the greatest misconceptions in health is believing metabolic improvements only happen after fat loss. But insulin responds to behavior, not body shape. When you walk, your muscles become an alternative gateway for glucose, lowering the need for insulin in real time. This effect doesn't require fat loss, it requires movement. Another reason insulin drops is the improved signaling between your cells. The more often you move, the more sensitive your cells become to insulin's instructions. This means the same amount of insulin can do more work, so the body releases less of it. Sensitivity improves before body composition does, which is why medical literature consistently shows metabolic gains long before weight loss occurs. This reduction in insulin is incredibly important because chronically high insulin levels are linked to increased appetite, fatigue, inflammation, and difficulty burning fat. So when walking reduces insulin early on, it sets the hormonal stage for easier fat loss later, even if the scale hasn't budged. It prepares the body for change before the change appears. If you're watching this and have ever felt discouraged by slow weight loss, hold on to this. Your metabolic health improves earlier than your reflection does. The inside changes first. Inside a walking muscle, microscopic gates called GLUT4 transporters rush toward the cell's surface. These transporters act like tiny doorways that allow glucose to slip inside the muscle cell. The magic? Walking summons these doorways without insulin's command. This is one of the clearest examples of how movement directly bypasses hormonal limitations. Once inside the muscle, glucose is quickly converted into energy or stored as glycogen for later use. This reduces the glucose circulating in your bloodstream and again lowers the need for insulin. It's a bit like tidying up before things get chaotic. The body maintains balance proactively. Over time, repeating this process teaches your muscles to store more glycogen and use energy more efficiently. This is why well-trained walkers often feel more energized, not more tired, after regular sessions. Their muscles have learned to handle glucose with elegance, not urgency. Before we continue, I'll leave you with a thought. If your muscles could talk during a walk, they'd probably say, "We've got this." And metabolically, they really do. Right after you eat, your bloodstream becomes crowded with glucose molecules waiting to be managed. Normally, this forces the pancreas to release more insulin, attempting to keep everything under control. But when you walk shortly after a meal, this entire dynamic shifts. Your muscles begin absorbing glucose almost instantly, preventing the dramatic rises that many people experience. This is why research consistently shows that even a 10-minute walk after eating can significantly lower post-meal glucose peaks. The muscles essentially act like a sponge, pulling sugar out of the bloodstream at a time when it would otherwise surge. This isn't guesswork. It's physiology observed repeatedly in controlled studies, and it works regardless of your fitness level. As insulin needs drop because muscles are handling the excess glucose, you experience smoother energy levels. That post-meal crash so many people know, the fog, the heaviness, the sudden fatigue, is often a result of sharp insulin swings. Walking softens those swings. The body appreciates consistency, and movement delivers it. Think of the walk after your next meal not as exercise, but as metabolic maintenance, a small investment of time that prevents your system from being overwhelmed. You'll feel the difference even before you believe it. Deep inside your muscles, tiny structures called mitochondria become more active the moment you start walking. These organelles are responsible for generating cellular energy, and when they sense movement, they increase their capacity to burn fuel. This awakening improves your body's ability to manage glucose and reduces the pressure placed on insulin. Walking consistently stimulates mitochondrial biogenesis, the creation of new mitochondria. With more of these powerhouses available, your muscles can use energy more efficiently, leading to improved metabolic flexibility. This isn't just good for blood sugar, it enhances endurance, mood, and long-term metabolic resilience. What's remarkable is that these mitochondrial improvements begin before any fat loss occurs. In fact, scientists often observe better mitochondrial function within a few weeks of regular walking, even when body weight stays the same. The body adapts to movement faster than most people assume. You can imagine mitochondria as a room full of sleeping workers who spring to life the moment you step outside. With every walk, you're hiring more workers and improving their teamwork. The result? A metabolism that listens, responds, and stabilizes. Insulin sensitivity is one of the strongest predictors of metabolic health, and walking is one of the most effective ways to improve it. As your muscles repeatedly contract, they become more receptive to insulin, meaning the same amount of insulin can do more with less. This fine-tuning happens gradually and quietly, but it's powerful. Over time, increased insulin sensitivity leads to lower fasting insulin levels, smoother glucose responses, and easier fat mobilization. These benefits arise not from burning extreme calories, but from improving communication between hormones and cells. It's like fixing static in a radio signal. Everything becomes clearer. What makes walking so unique is that it improves insulin sensitivity even in people who are not losing weight. Scientists often highlight this in studies. Metabolic improvements consistently precede visible changes. For many people, this is a crucial piece of hope. They are getting healthier even when the mirror hasn't caught up yet. If you've ever wondered why some people suddenly find weight loss easier after weeks of walking, this is the reason. The groundwork is hormonal, not cosmetic. The body prepares for change long before the change becomes visible. Walking doesn't burn an enormous amount of calories, and that's exactly why many people underestimate it. Yet the paradox is that walking creates massive internal changes despite modest energy expenditure. The body responds to walking not as a hard workout, but as a consistent metabolic rhythm that resets key systems day after day. In scientific terms, walking enhances metabolic flexibility, the ability to switch between fuels smoothly. This is essential for stable insulin levels. While high-intensity exercise can stress the system, walking quietly teaches it to adapt. It's low strain with high return. Another layer to this paradox is that low-intensity movement tends to be more sustainable. Because it doesn't exhaust you, you're more likely to repeat it daily. And consistency is what rewrites metabolic patterns. The small effort compounds into huge hormonal and cellular improvements.
So even though walking may not torch thousands of calories, it transforms how your entire metabolic engine operates. Less dramatic on the surface, life-changing beneath it. Sitting for extended periods causes muscles to essentially switch off. When they're inactive, glucose uptake plummets and insulin becomes far less effective. This is why long sedentary hours are associated with insulin resistance, even in people who exercise later. The body doesn't like being still for too long. But the moment you stand up and walk, even for a short stretch, you interrupt this metabolic stagnation. Studies show that brief walking breaks every hour dramatically reduce blood sugar spikes and insulin needs throughout the day. The duration of the walk matters far less than the act of breaking the sedentary pattern. Walking also reactivates key enzymes involved in glucose regulation. These enzymes remain dormant when you're sitting, which is why prolonged stillness is metabolically stressful. Your body thrives on movement, even tiny doses of it. So here's a thought worth sharing. The enemy isn't sitting itself, it's uninterrupted sitting. Your metabolism simply prefers movement, and walking gives it exactly what it needs. The human body is incredibly adaptive, and walking is one of the behaviors it learns to anticipate quickly. After repeated bouts of movement, your muscles begin to remember that glucose management must become more efficient. This memory is not metaphorical, it is rooted in biochemical changes within the muscle fibers that improve insulin response over time. Each walk leaves a trace that makes the next one easier and more effective. One of the most interesting scientific findings is that these adaptations build even when the walking sessions are short. The body cares more about frequency than intensity. Repeated low-intensity movement enhances glucose transport pathways, improves mitochondrial density, and strengthens metabolic communication. These improvements accumulate quietly until suddenly your system operates on an entirely different level. Because these changes happen under the surface, many people don't realize how dramatically their internal health is evolving. They may feel more stable throughout the day, less reactive to long periods without food, or more energized in the morning. These subtle shifts are signs of deeper metabolic recalibration, signs that your body no longer fears insulin spikes because it knows it can handle them. Over time, the accumulated benefits begin influencing long-term health markers. Fasting glucose begins to stabilize, insulin resistance markers begin to fall, even inflammatory patterns start to soften as metabolic stress decreases. All of this starts before your body composition changes noticeably. What's most empowering is this: the body remembers consistency far more than perfection. Even imperfect walking routines add up, leaving molecular footprints that continue serving you long after each walk ends.
The scientific literature is remarkably consistent on one point. Walking is one of the most accessible and effective tools for reducing the risk of metabolic disease. Studies show that regular walking improves insulin sensitivity, lowers fasting insulin, reduces fatty liver risk, and enhances glucose control, even in populations that do not engage in intense exercise. It's not magic, it's biology responding to movement the way it was designed to. One scientific reason walking is so protective is its ability to activate skeletal muscle repeatedly throughout the day. Skeletal muscle is the largest insulin-sensitive tissue in the human body, which makes it the primary regulator of blood sugar. When you walk, you turn this massive organ into an active glucose-clearing machine. The result is lower metabolic burden and reduced need for insulin. Another key insight is that walking reduces chronic inflammation, a major contributor to metabolic disorders. Movement stimulates anti-inflammatory signaling molecules called myokines, released by contracting muscles. These molecules improve communication between tissues, enhance healing, and help stabilize glucose pathways. With every walk, you're essentially bathing your body in anti-inflammatory chemistry. Science also highlights that even people with a genetic predisposition to metabolic issues benefit dramatically from walking. Genetics load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger, and walking keeps the trigger untouched. The simplicity of movement can overpower the complexity of genes. So, if you've ever wondered whether walking is enough, the research answers with a resounding yes. Enough to prevent disease, enough to rebuild metabolic stability, enough to protect your future. If this content is helping you understand your body in a clearer, science-backed way, consider leaving a super thanks. It supports the channel and helps us bring more videos like this to you. There comes a moment, different for everyone, when walking transforms from an activity into a metabolic signal. At this turning point, insulin begins behaving differently, glucose moves more efficiently, and the body shifts into a state where fat loss becomes more accessible. This transition isn't visible from the outside, but internally it marks the beginning of a new metabolic identity. As your cells become more insulin sensitive, your body finally gains permission to mobilize stored fat. High insulin blocks fat oxidation, but lower, steadier insulin unlocks it. This is why walking prepares the body for fat loss long before fat loss happens. The hormonal gate must open before the physical change occurs, and walking is the key that fits the lock. Beyond hormonal shifts, walking rewrites your daily rhythms. Blood flow changes, muscle enzymes adjust, mitochondria multiply, appetite stabilizes, stress hormones drop. These pieces work together, reshaping your metabolic landscape more profoundly than most people expect. It's like renovating an entire house brick by brick, slow, steady, permanent. This turning point often brings emotional benefits too. People report clearer thinking, improved mood, and fewer cravings. These aren't coincidences, they're downstream effects of the more balanced insulin profile. A stable metabolism feels good. The internal calm becomes part of your daily life. And this leads to the final truth. Walking is not just exercise, it is metabolic communication.
With every step, you're telling your body, we are moving, we are adapting, we are thriving, and the body listens. If you found value in this video, make sure to subscribe, give it a like, and share it with someone who needs to know how powerful walking truly is. Your support helps this message reach more people.